how would Jerry Rice do this? How, how did he carry his body, his chest? How did he walk on the field, his swagger, his confidence? And I just acted like I was Jerry Rice. I became him when I stepped on the field, and it helped overcome the insecurities of the nerves by just embodying the energy of Jerry Rice. It sounds like you've been doing that.
I do that in different ways with different people.
Yeah, in different scenarios, right?
Yeah, like years ago, I started to realize the real power of self-image, studying Maltz's work. And I will, and I've taught this to many people, I will build an image, different parts of my personality. I will see someone that I really, something they do that I really admire, the way they do it. And I will adopt that. Now, I've got this, I've been doing this for years. And if you were to watch me going from one place to another, I never walk fast. Never. When I was a kid, this stuck in my mind. There was another kid, Donnie Miller, lived down the street from us. Now, this was during the Second World War, so there were no fathers at home. They were always shooting at each other. But his dad was home. His dad wasn't well. His dad had had a heart attack, so nobody went around his house because his dad was sick. They'd come around the other houses. But the doctor must have told his dad to walk. His dad was always dressed, suit, shirt, tie. And I'd watch him walk up and down the street. I'd see him every now and then. He'd walk up and down the street. And he had this real relaxed walk about him. And when I was building a self-image, a picture of his dad stuck in my mind. And so I sort of mimicked his walk.
Wow.
But I've done different things. Like, I used to watch Earl Nightingale record. When I first went to work for him, he had a recording studio. It'd be like this, there was a window. My office, I could look in when he was recording. And one day I realized he's talking to that damn microphone.
Right.
He has a microphone. And I thought, that microphone's a person to him. Now, you create all great broadcasters, they just talk to one person. They don't say you people or you folks or talk to you. But they would be talking, and I realized he's talking to a microphone. So at the end of the recording, I talk to one person. It's a microphone. If I'm working with an audience, I talk to one person. These are just little lessons that I picked up to get better at what I was doing. I remember, if a person's negative in an audience, real negative, there could be 500 people in that audience. That one person's energy is so strong.
Stands out, yeah.
And there was a woman that I met, Beverly Lynch, years and years ago when I was at Nightingale, Conant, and I asked her one time, I said, she was the speaker. I said, Beverly, what are you doing? There's a negative person in the audience. She smiled, and she says, you talk to the light, not the dark. I thought, wow. So obvious, why did I miss that? So if I'm talking and there's a negative or a few negative, I just take one person that's super positive, and it doesn't matter where I'm looking, that's the person I'm looking at. I'll talk to that person.
So you focus on the positive people.
Always.
Always.
Yeah.
You won't try to put your attention on the negative person and try to get them to be happy and smile. You just...
If you just keep putting the positive, if they just open their mind for a minute, you're in.
Yeah.
You got to get the information into their subconscious mind.
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned, I think one of the faculties you said was the most challenging is imagination. Is that one of the most challenging for people?
It's not the most challenging. It's something we really want to gain an understanding of, because most people use their imagination. They use it the wrong way. They imagine what won't work. They imagine something bad happening.
What should we imagine more often every day?
We should imagine you should see yourself where you want to be. You got to live there. There's a great book. You may be familiar with Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. Oh gosh, you got to get it. Stella Adler was a great acting teacher. She was a method acting teacher. She studied under Stanislavski, the Russian acting teacher that originated method acting.
Okay.
Marlon Brando wrote the foreword in her book. He was the first method actor to reach superstardom.
Okay.
And he wrote the foreword in her book. Now, Stella Adler never actually wrote a book. A man named Kissel took all of her teaching, all of her lessons for teaching, and he put them into a book. So when you read her book, you're going to her acting classes. Mm-hmm. And like Shakespeare said, we're all actors, the world's the stage, and that's true. Well, when you reach a goal, you're going to act like you're already there. It's already happened intellectually the second you think about it. It's already happened emotionally when you're emotionally involved with it. So it's only a period of time until it manifests in physical form.
Right.
But because it's not in physical form, we act like we haven't got it yet.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why most people stay stuck, because they're acting like they haven't got it yet. Or if I can't act like that, Lewis would see that I haven't got that result, he'll think I'm phony. I got to quit worrying about what Lewis thinks and start concentrating on what Bob thinks. And so you see yourself, your imagination, you got to be that person. Goethe said that, great philosopher. He said, before you can do something, you first must be something. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be it intellectually. You've got to be it emotionally. It's like Solomon says, as a person thinks within their heart, the emotional mind. Well, it's only a period of time then until it manifests physically. That's one of the first laws of the universe, is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is moving into form, always. To form, moving into form, through form, back into form again. So we cause it all to happen the way we think and the way we stay locked into ideas.
How should people be developing their imagination on a daily basis in a positive way?
Well, I think they should take time to image what they want. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher, who's a brilliant woman, and she rides horses, gaited horses. Mm-hmm. And she's in Kentucky right now in big shows there. Mm-hmm. She images herself as a world champion. Every day, she takes the time and she sees herself as a world champion. She sees herself getting the roses, getting the whole thing. And that's the way you should do it. I think you build the image of what you want. I mean, you obviously imaged this studio before you ever built it.
Right.
I mean, everything you see here was part of the image in your mind. But everything you create twice. Once in here, once out here. So you never get an original painting. You always get a duplicate. The picture's in here.
Wow.
So we have to see ourselves with what we want here. Now we've got enormous deterrent in our paradigm. We're conditioned genetically and environmentally. And that conditioning is controlling most people's lives. That's why brilliant people are broke. Brilliant people are unhappy. Brilliant people never really accomplish very much. They're absolutely brilliant, but their paradigm is controlling them. It's all about intellect. They're smart people. But you got to consider where we come from. A little particle of energy from mom, a little particle of energy from dad comes swimming along. That's the nucleus of us. Then that goes on for 280 days, attracting more energy until you make your debut on the planet. And then you're programmed environmentally by your environment. So everything that's going on is going right into your subconscious mind. So you come out, you're programmed genetically. We don't know how far it goes back, 4 or 5 generations possibly. Like when I was a young man, I had red hair. My mother didn't have red hair. My dad didn't have red hair. I got a brother and sister, and they don't have red hair. Because you think, well, but my mother's father and all his brothers had red hair. So sometimes it jumps a generation. That's why we look like our relatives. It's genetic conditioning. And then there's environmental conditioning. We know almost all welfare recipients are 4th, 5th generation welfare recipients. So this is passed down from generation to generation. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, we're all exactly the same. We got exactly the same potential. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. But that perfection never expresses itself properly because of this paradigm. It's conditioning in our subconscious mind. You see so many brilliant people and they don't make it. I had a good friend of mine, Milt Campbell. He won the gold medal in decathlon.
Wow, I was a decathlete.
Were you where?
I was an All-American decathlete.
Well, Milt won in Melbourne in '56.
Wow, okay.
And he won in '52 in Helsinki. When,
Wow.
Bob Mathias won his second gold. He won the gold in 48 and then in 52.
Wow.
Milt told me, if he told me once, he told me 1,000 times, every time I was with him. You know, there was a lot of athletes in schools that were better than me, but they quit.
Yeah.
Well, our paradigms get us to quit things
Why?
because of programming. You're programmed. You have to ask yourself, why don't they do that? I did a lot of work with the Prudential of America. In fact, I got stuck in the insurance companies for a number of years. I was so effective at what I was doing. And we raised their sales by, one VP said over $1 billion. And all I was doing, getting them to change their paradigm. I was having them change the way they worked. A paradigm, a culture is a paradigm. Every country has a culture. Every family has a culture. Every company has a culture. Well, in the insurance industry, years ago, they had what they called debit agents. They went around collecting the money. And there would be a little book like the one you're working with that would have a record in there. I remember we had a book on top of our ice box, was right near our back door. Mr. Spenceley was the insurance man. When I was a little kid, he'd come in, and there was a little book and a little box with some money, and there's always just pennies.
Right.
And he would collect the debit, mark the book, and he'd be on his way. And that's how the insurance business operated. They were called debit agents.
Wow.
Well, then as time moved along, people started to sign a little cheap sheet of paper or something, and they would automatically draw it out of your bank account.
Yeah.
But the agents didn't change. The agents would just go and sell at night when mom and dad were both there, because you couldn't sell mom if dad wasn't there. You couldn't sell dad if mom wasn't there. This was a programming. So here we are in the 70s. Agents are still going to their office every morning, and they wouldn't go out and sell anybody because you sell at night. They collected their debit through the day. There was no debit to collect. This had been for years. They were still doing this, and I'd ask them. I'd say, "Why do you go to your office?" "Well, you have to go to the office," and they'd be there. And I said, "Why do you have to go to your office?" "Well, because we have to go to the office." They didn't know why they had to go.
Yeah.
Then they go to lunch. They go with another agent. I said, "Did you ever sell another agent any insurance?" "No." I said, "What the hell are you going to lunch with them for?" I got them to do this. I said, "You got to be like this. You got to be skin to skin with the person before 9 a.m. And you have to ask every person to buy at least $100,000 worth of insurance. You don't even have to sell them. Just ask them to buy." Well, I got them doing that. They were selling more $100,000 policies in a week than they previously sold in a year in almost every office.
Wow.
You see, that's conditioning. That's paradigm. That's the way they were working. They've been doing it for years. Nobody ever thought to change it. Largest insurance company in the world. And the head office was trying to figure out what I was doing because wherever I went, the sales went crazy. I was showing them how to change paradigm. Your paradigm is your conditioned behavior.
How do we know when we need to change our own paradigm?
You always need to change your own paradigm.
How often are you changing yours?
I'm working on it right now, every day.
Really?
Yeah, I work at it every day. But you should only try and change one or two things at a time.
Don't try to change everything at once.
Well, you can tell what your paradigm is. Just study your own behavior. Think of your results. You want to improve your results, don't you?
Sure.
You probably want to earn more money.
Sure.
You probably want the show to be bigger than it is.
Sure, yeah.
Well, how are you going to do that?
You got to change the paradigm.
That's right. You got to change your habitual way of dealing with these things. So you take a look at the results and say, what do I want to change? It's the results are an expression of the paradigm, not the intellect. Right. See, the conscious mind is where all our intellectual information is. You know how to do better than you're doing. You know how to do better than you're doing.
Sure.
I know how to do better than that. Why aren't we doing it? The subconscious is programmed. It's your conscious mind where the intellect is, and that's where our knowing is. Person knows, but they're not doing what they know. You say, why do you do that? I don't know. Well, you know better. I know. Why are you doing it? I don't know. Well, I know. If their paradigm controls their behavior.
Yeah.
So you take a look at your results and you say, what's causing that? So you've got to take back your behavior pattern. Why are you doing that? Because you're programmed to do it. Right now, the last time we did a a paradigm shift seminar in Los Angeles, was a number 3 or 4 months ago. We gave everybody a ring binder. It's a damn thing's about that thick. And on every page is the same. At the top of the page, you write 10 things you're grateful for.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a statement that you write. I am so happy and grateful now that I know my spiritual DNA is perfect. And that perfection is within me. Every morning, I look for ways to improve my paradigm. I have to write that with my left hand. I'm right-handed. I'm on my 41st day today.
Writing left-handed?
Writing left-handed.
Why?
It's changing the paradigm. I could be just as proficient with my left hand as I am with my right, but I got to change my paradigm. I'm programmed. Now, when you're writing, you just write. You don't think. That's why graphical analysts can tell a lot about your personality through your handwriting.
Yeah. Of sloppy handwriting.
If you're
Don't
writing
read
with your left hand and you're right-handed or your non-dominant hand, you gotta consciously pay attention to every stroke, every move your hand's making. And the second you stop, it looks like it was Chinese art that you were drawing.
Right.
But I know through repetition, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. It'll probably take me a year.
Wow.
But I'm learning how strong the paradigm is and how hard it is to change it. So a year from now, I'll probably be as proficient with one hand as I am with the other. And I'll stick to it.
Wow. What's the thing you want to change the most within yourself to get to the next level of results that you're looking for?
I want to be more effective in selling on a larger scale.
So not one-to-one or one-to-few, but one to mass?
Yeah, like I have a sales staff. We've got a pretty mature company. We've got about 70 employees in our company.
Wow.
So we've got about 20 salespeople. Say 10, we have 20. I want to have a larger sales force. I want to create more leads for them because I think what we do is so important. We literally change people's lives. And I'll work until I die. I have no intention to ever retire. I think it's a despicable idea even. So I'm forever. Now, I worked on an idea last night on the plane. And it's sort of similar. Maybe it was because I knew I was coming in here. Maybe that triggered this because we've been trying to come in here for over a year.
Yeah.
Somebody keeps telling me,
Dates change and everything else.
Yeah, well, we just we weren't able to be here until today. Anyway, I'm on the plane and I'm thinking, how can I get more people? I have a studio in Toronto. If you're ever in Toronto, you'll have to come and see it.
I want to see it, yeah.
We have a beautiful studio. It is a television station. I had a couple of people from a TV station in one day, and I said, "Sir, like a television?" They said, "No, Bob, it is a television." I can run 4 cameras simultaneously. Young Scott there, he could operate the cameras from right in here on his computer. I can stream all over the world. It's 50 feet from my house.
Wow.
And we can stream all over the world from there. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to do, it would be like a webinar, but it won't be a webinar.
Like a live cast.
It'll be a live cast, yeah. And it'll stream. And I'm really going to teach the people something. I'll use maybe 2 or 3 PowerPoints. I'll use a PowerPoint just as a trigger to get the thing going, get them focused on something. And then I'll open it for questions and I'll have chats. Because people learn something on chats. They listen and say, damn, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So we'll have a chat on it. And I'll start doing that right away. Now I got people working on it.
Wow.
And I'm calling it Studio 333. There's a story in a book I wrote, 333. And we say we 333 an idea. You only think of how you can, you can't think of why you can't. The guy raised $3 million, 3 hours, 3 days later, in a radio station in Toronto through an idea we taught him.
Wow.
So we call it 333 idea. So I've called this, we had them at 333.com, studio333.com.
That's cool.
So that's the way it'll come out. And we'll stream it all over the world. And I'll be teaching this information, not in an organized way, but probably in a disorganized way, based on the people we're talking to. Because they ask questions, that's telling me what they want to learn, rather than me saying, this is what you should learn. I want to find out what you want to learn. So
that's cool.
That's something that I'm building now.
Yeah.
I want to make it big.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you'll ever get close to reaching your potential?
No, I know damn well I won't. It's not, do I think? I know. neither will you. I think that's the ultimate aim of man. We are created in God's image. Now, everybody's got a different image of that, but we're capable of doing anything. We have infinite potential. Our spiritual DNA is perfect, so there's perfection within us. And spirit's always for expansion and fuller expression, never for disintegration. The disintegration we bring about. So spirit's always for expansion and fuller expression. We're spiritual beings. So that perfection is trying to express itself through us. We stop it. It's when we get tuned in and we let it come out. But we could part the seas. We can do anything. We are all powerful. All the power, all the knowledge is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. So that's within you, within me. There's no limit to what we can do. That's really what I teach.
Yeah.
I teach it, I'll break it down into small bites for a person.
Yeah.
But you...
What's the closest we can get to our potential, do you think? What's possible?
well, the closest you'll get to your potential is where you are right now.
Yeah.
And then you've got to take and you've got to expand it. You want to do better at what you're doing. Like, you got a great reputation on this show. I think you know that.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of people who've never heard of it.
Of course. Lots of people.
Yeah.
I want the world to hear it. Yeah.
Well, then, there you go. You want the world to, well, how will you do that? There's your opportunity to develop more. How will you do that?
Yeah.
How can you get more millions?
Yeah.
You know?
You got to use my imagination.
You do. That's where you're going to start.
Imagination, will,
Yeah.
tuition, everything.
Yeah. So you got to learn how to utilize those, how to develop them. So you work at it every day. I mean, you're in a, many people would say you're in an enviable position. I think I am too, because you're talking to people who know quite a bit about whatever they're doing. So you're going to learn all the time.
It's the greatest gig.
You're in school every day.
It's the greatest
You go to
gig.
work, you're in school.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
Tiffany, you're getting an education. Probably you couldn't.
She's been here for what, 3 years now, 3.5 years,
wow.
and she's grown tremendously. She's listened to everyone.
Our marketing director, you would love to meet her. She is Mikey Stellar. She was Mikey Euler. She got married since she's joined us, had 2 children too. She was a nanny when she started to work with us. Now she's our chief operating officer and our marketing director.
Wow.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She had never really went to school. But she came in, she'd be something like you. I mean, you're getting exposed to great information all the time.
Yeah.
And Tiffany, you got the same potential as I got.
Yeah.
You know, you look different, you sound different, but we're exactly the same. You see? I teach that in a seminar. I'll say, like, if I asked you, you'd probably tell me you're black. You know, if I asked somebody else, they'd probably tell me you're black. The truth is you're not. And they tell me I'm white. The truth is I'm not. My shirt is white. If you ever saw a white person, you'd probably scream and run. My God, they're white. You know, if I don't know if I've ever seen a black person. Why do they say we don't see with our eyes, we see through our eyes? We've been programmed to see black, and you're not black. You see, I think your shirt's black, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty black.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not the color of the shirt.
Yeah.
So why do we say Tiffany's black and Bob's white? Because we're programmed to see that. Now, if we're seeing something that isn't there when we look at another person, how many other times do we look at see something that's not there? That's where our perception has to be shifted.
Yeah.
We're all exactly the same. Now, you're not too tall, you're a different shade, and you're a different gender. So you say, well, you're nothing like Bob. You're exactly like Bob. It just doesn't appear that way. But the truth is very rarely in the appearance of things. There's so much we can learn. And school's not teaching us. School's not doing the job.
What's the thing you feel like you haven't learned yet? 85 years old right now, is that what you said? 80?
I'll be 85 next Friday.
Wow.
A week Friday, yeah.
You're very young. Happy early birthday. Yeah.
There you go.
So what's the thing you feel like you still haven't learned?
Oh, well, like everything I'm teaching, I only know a bit of it.
Ah,
you know, and